Hey, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. Grandpap coming to you from, I almost called him Webster. From Watson. Webster. Arlo, your dad will know why that's funny. Him and your Uncle Frank used to watch some show that had a little boy on it named Webster, and and my son Tom, your dad, Arlo, he used to call him Webster. So I'm in Webster. So, but we're in Mark chapter 15, the penultimate chapter, the next to the last chapter. So a lot of things are going to happen in this chapter. It's some of the most important things that ever happened. I'll walk that back a bit. The most important thing that ever happened. Because even though the creation of the world in 6 days was quite a feat, what's going to happen in this chapter is the biggest thing ever on the planet Earth. Chapter 15 starts early in the morning. After forming a plan, the chief priests with the elders and the experts of the law and the whole Sanhedrin tied Jesus up, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate. So the Sanhedrin is the government of the local Jews, but Jewish law is not in effect. They could have taken Jesus out and stoned him if they were sovereign, but they're not sovereign. They're under the control of the Roman Empire. So they have to take him to Pontius Pilate. So they come up with a plan. Everybody's got a plan. It's like Mike Tyson said, that somebody said to him, yeah, this guy's going to give you a hard time. He's got this plan. He's going to do this and that. And Mike said, yeah, everybody's got a plan until somebody punches him in the face. So that's like these guys. They have a plan. So Pilate asked him, are you the king of the Jews? And he replied, you say so. Then the chief priests began to accuse him repeatedly. So they're like Karens. They're going like, rah, 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 rah. So Pilate asked him again, have you nothing to say? See how many charges they're bringing against you? But Jesus made no further reply. So Pilate was amazed. And I noticed this. I don't know if it's the same word in Greek, but in the book of Mark, it pops off the page, people being amazed. During the feast, it was customary to release one prisoner to the people, whomever they requested. A man named Barabbas was imprisoned with rebels who had committed murder during the insurrection, and Barabbas means son of the father. Then the crowd came up and began to ask Pilate to release a prisoner for them, as was his custom. So Pilate asked them, do you want me to release the king of the Jews for you? For he knew that the chief priests had handed him over because of envy. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have him release Barabbas instead. So Pilate spoke to them again. Then what do you want me to do with the one you call the king of the Jews? And they shouted back, crucify him. Pilate asked them, why? What has he done wrong? But they shouted more insistently, crucify him. Because he wanted to satisfy the crowd, Pilate released Barabbas for them. Then, after he had Jesus flogged, he handed him over to be crucified. So he has these, I guess they're soldiers, come in and take cat o' nine tail that usually had bone in the whips. And I think it was 40 lashes minus one. So the soldiers led him into the palace, that is the governor's residence, and called together the whole cohort. So that this is military. This is the Roman centurions. They put a purple cloak on him, and after braiding a crown of thorns, they put it on him. They began to salute him, "Hail, King of the Jews!" Again and again they struck him on the head with a staff and spit on him. Then they knelt down and paid homage to him. When they had finished mocking him, they stripped him of the purple cloak and put his own clothes back on him. Then they led him away to crucify him. So they're not just like, hey, this guy's getting ready to die, let's just kill him. Their blood is boiling in anger. And Jesus does that to people. The soldiers forced a passerby to carry his cross, Simon of Cyrene, who was coming in from the country. He was the father of Alexander and Rufus. They brought Jesus to a place called Golgotha, whichever way you want to pronounce it, which is translated place of the skull. Now the thing about Simon of Cyrene, he came all the way from someplace in Africa to worship the Passover, and now in the middle of everything, he's going to be ceremonially unclean. He's not going to be able to do anything else. He's not going to be able to go into the temple and worship or anything, because he's essentially touching the property of a dead man. They offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. Then they crucified him and divided his clothes, throwing dice for them to decide what each would take. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. The inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." And they crucified 2 outlaws with him, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by defamed him, shaking their heads and saying, "Aha! You who can destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross." Sometimes the Bible puts stuff in there so that you'll know if people are listening or not. He just came there riding on a donkey, people yelling, "Hosanna, Hosanna. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." And he makes this statement in the temple court about how, tear this temple down and I'll build it back in 3 days. They were listening. At this point in time, we tend to think, well, these people must not have been paying attention because he was Jesus, he's God, he did these miracles. No, they were paying attention, but you know what? Satan has a great game. Satan is on his game all the time. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. The inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." And they crucified 2 outlaws with him, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by defamed him, shaking their heads and saying, "Aha!" So I went back and reread a bunch of stuff, sorry. "You who can destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross." In the same way, even the chief priests, together with the experts in the law, were mocking him among themselves. He saved others, but he cannot save himself. So this is a guy who raised somebody from the dead. He raised a couple people from the dead. Raised a little girl from the dead. He raised Lazarus from the dead. Let the Christ, the King of Israel, come down from the cross now that we may see and believe. Those who were crucified with him also spoke abusively to him. So these two guys on the cross are also talking crap. Now when it was noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 p.m. It's quite an eclipse. Around 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. So that's Psalm 22, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? When some of the bystanders heard it, they said, listen, he's calling for Elijah, because he said, Eloi, Eloi. But Elijah would be Eliah. So then someone ran, filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on a stick, and gave it to him to drink, saying, leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah will come and take him down. But Jesus cried out with a loud voice and breathed his last. And the temple curtain was torn in two from top to bottom. Now when the centurion who stood in front of him saw how he died, he said, truly this man was God's son. There were also, so he had his eyes open, his ears open. There were also women watching from a distance. Among them were Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James the younger, and of Joses and Salome. When he was in Galilee, they had followed him and given him support. Many other women who had come up with him to Jerusalem were there too. So you might have noticed something. The women didn't scatter. The men did. Just saying, ladies. Olive, if somebody goes, hey, you're just a girl, say, yeah, we didn't scatter. Now when evening had already come, since it was the day of preparation, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a highly regarded member of the council, who was himself looking forward to the kingdom of God, went boldly to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Hopefully, everybody who's watching this, not just my grandchildren, but everybody watching this, hopefully you're looking forward to the kingdom of God. Pilate was surprised that he was already dead. He called the centurion and asked him if he had been dead for some time. When Pilate was informed by the centurion, he gave the body to Joseph. After Joseph bought a linen cloth and took down the body, he wrapped it in the linen and placed it in a tomb cut out of the rock. Then he rolled a stone against the entrance of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joses, saw where the body was placed. So they're there. The boys have scattered, and the ladies are there, and they're going to be there on Sunday morning too. Yeah, it's a lot to drink in, but what he did for you. Peace out.